this story links back to yourself.
Oh.
Joe came down to Inquiring Minds several times, and among other things that I consulted with him, you'll learn you have to ask Joe a lot of things, and Kate too, was how do you get people to respond to an open mic? Well, he gave us a number of ideas and we used them successfully, but then one time he said, think of a place, is there one place in Saugerties you'd really like to tell about? And I knew immediately which mine would be. You see, it's down near where I live. It's down near my house. Oh, you go down and it's a little incline and the maples are above you and you can hear the Esopus Creek. It's really, I think of it as a little river, but they call it a creek. And it's coming over the stones so you can hear it. And I love it in the early morning or late afternoon because the sun is this golden beam through the trees. But I'm a city person, and I tend to people a place. Well, if you know where to look, there's something there to help you. Because what's down among the rich black dirt and the maple trees that have fallen the previous season is slag. It's from the mill. Because where I'm standing, is the original mills, the Ulster Iron Mill, created in 1827. And this was spit off from it all those years ago. Well, the mill, you see, was the product of the creation of one Henry Bartley. I like to think of him standing there on the edge of the river looking up. He was a smart man, and he had a few advantages. His father was the British consul in New York, and he had been there recently in a partnership with his brother. But now he looked up. Oh, well, it was a wilderness. There were not in Saugerties 10 houses at that time. But he saw that incline I had walked down, it promised power, you see. Oh, he knew of the Erie Canal and the expansion of industry into the continent. And if you could run water down an incline, you could get power. And that meant something. So Henry, he also had the advantage of money. He paid $7,000 for one piece of land on one side of the Esopus, near where I live, and $28,000. Do you have any idea what that means in today's money? Close to $1 million. And he built his mill. So the water, and he built a dam. And so the water came through a crevice down, powering what was to be this extraordinarily successful iron mill. Now what else did he need? Oh, he built it just 3 stories, and then when he got some extra time, he built a paper mill over to the right. He planned also workers' housing. You can see the plot even now. They were very small, 2 houses, a row of houses together, and gardens out in the front, and then bigger houses for the management in the rear. But he needed people. It's suspected that he went down to Brooklyn and recruited Irish workers. Now, this was not quite yet the Irish famine time, not the time of disaster when there were millions coming in, but there were plenty of Irish trying to get to New York. You know, the British charged £5 to get to New York and only 15 shillings to get to Canada. Some of the Irish are reputed to have come in and walked down, but in any event, there they were. And the mill, using that power from the dam, first the iron would come in what they call pigs, sent in up from the Hudson. And you had to get the dross out of it, the bad stuff out of it. So they reduced it to liquid. Now these are men are standing stripped to the waist, right? And the mill is running night and day. And then once you get it liquefied, those are the peddlers who did that. And then you get to the slingers, and the slingers were the guys who operated a 7-ton hammer. Yeah, 7 tons. Dropping it so that every impurity was pressed out of that iron. Wow. He was important, Mr. Barclay. Mr. Barclay believed in churches and a proper life. He built the Presbyterian, the Episcopalian Church, and there's a plaque there to this day honoring him. But he built St. Mary's of the Snow Catholic Church. And he proceeded to deduct 50 cents a week from the pay of all those men in the mill who should be going to church. As far as we know, no one objected. Well, when you think about it, what was life like for them? We have an idea of what happened to the men, but the kids, did they go to school? What was it? Since 1814, school had been mandatory in New York State. And there were 3 districts in Saugerties at that time. You have to prod a little to find out that while money came from the state and from the locality, if there was something left over, the parents had to make it up. So we're not quite sure whether those mill kids were able to go. Now school, some of you may know, school was sort of a tough thing in the 19th century. The benches had no backs to them, for example. And you learned everything by memory. You were there for 8 hours. In Saugerties, the girls went in the winter and the boys went in the summer. Just why that was, I'm not sure. But now, when I walk down that incline, you know what? I think of the Irish, and I think of what had happened to them all, even before they came. You see, I was in Derry. If you know anyone in Northern Ireland, you don't call it Londonderry. And I was stopped dead in my tracks by a street statuary, you know. You see them, for example, there's one on 6th Avenue in Manhattan where there's a man hunched over, and you suddenly think, what is he doing in the middle of the sidewalk? And you realize that he's a statue. He's there to remind you of what the garment district was like. This one, the one I saw, it wasn't a single figure. It was a group. There was a man, he had a little boy by the hand, and he's faced dead ahead. He's going down to the harbor. Next to him, there's a woman in 19th century dress. She's holding a baby, but she's looking back. And back there, a bent-aged couple and a teenage girl. And she's leaving her firstborn to take care of the old folks. And she knows she'll never see her again. And your family, those who came so long ago, do we have any idea? Do we have any idea of the reserve, the resolution it took, the courage? When I walk down now, and I think of those, particularly the Irish women, you know what? I think they have a few pithy things to say about Henry. Oh, never uptown, of course. Maybe just here at home.